right, welcome to Castles, Capes, and Clones presents WandaVision. It's a show where we do a deep dive into WandaVision episodes. And today we're going to be talking about episode 4. If you have not seen the episode yet, wait to watch this episode because we are going to be doing a lot of spoilers. So that is your warning right there. We are going to be doing spoilers in this episode. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, hit the bell for notifications, and do like this post. It really does help us out. Hey everybody, I'm Loren, and I'm here with my cousin and co-pilot, Rich.
Hello.
How's it going?
Going pretty good. This is a pretty good, hefty 30-minute episode.
Yeah, I know, right? Lots to uncover. So why don't we just... Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, it answers a lot of things, but then you just have just as many questions. Yeah. Exactly. All right, well, let's get into it then. So the opening scene I thought was very interesting because we had not seen the real life impact that coming back from the blip would have. I thought it was very intense. And it gave me goosebumps. I mean, we got a little bit from Spider-Man.
Right. But it was treated more like a joke than an actual, the chaos of it all.
When the scene opens and you see the particles, I literally jumped up. I'm like, oh my god!
Right.
We're going to see it. We're going to see this.
Yeah. At first, I was confused. I thought, are these her powers? Is this her? At first I was, and then I'm like, oh no, this is the blip. And I thought it was very interesting that they actually called it the blip in this episode.
I mean, like, that was what was in the news things that Spider-Man showed. Like, they just called it whoever coined it, right? It seems to be that's what the world knows it as, the blip.
I thought maybe it was just the kids that called it the blip, but nope.
No, I think it was
the world.
It was like in the news, like a newscast that they showed a little bit of.
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'd have to go back and see it. So yeah, it was very intense, and it's also the first time really that we learn who Geraldine actually is, because you and I both knew who it was,
right?
But for somebody like, say, my sister, who doesn't know the comics very well, she might not know who that character is, and so now she's going to learn who it is.
And even then, like, I feel like it might be hard for some people to know that that's Maria Rambeau's daughter. I mean, like, when the scene opens, you hear her conversation with Captain Marvel as a kid and her mom. So if you catch it, but it's very faint, so it's hard to catch.
Right, I know. I couldn't hear it. I was watching the closed caption.
And then I think hopefully when you see the picture of Maria at Sword, that clicks and like, oh, that's who this is. Because even then, you may not even know her name. Like, a casual fan might even know her name.
Right.
So yeah, it's one of those things I wish they, like, when they announced the cast, they just called her Geraldine and didn't say she was Monica Rambeau, because like that would have been an awesome kind of like, oh my god, it's actually Monica Rambeau.
Right. Yeah, that would have been awesome. That would have been pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But they announced her very early on. I think that she's really great, Keanu Paris. She did a really great job in that scene. I mean, like, I literally was shaking in that scene. I mean, it gave me such goosebumps, and a lot of it was based on her own performance. And yeah, I just thought it was really spectacular.
Yeah, like it's funny because, oh no, it's funny, but like I feel like you can really tell the difference between Geraldine and Monica. Like it's almost like you might not be able to tell that, like I think maybe at first you're like, oh, who's this? Because they're so different, and their looks are different. So it's like it's a really good performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. All right. Well, we learned that it's 3 weeks later after she returned from the Blip, and she returned to Sword, which her mother founded. So it was interesting, the Sword name change. She obviously, there was somewhere along the line there was the word creation in there, and now it's observation, and I think it's observation and reaction. I'd have to look it up again. I forget. But it's something to that. What did you think?
I didn't really notice that there was a name change.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't. I know that Monica like commented that it doesn't say creation.
Yeah.
But I don't think that means that it used to be in the name. I think she's commenting on the fact that they're creating things now.
Yeah, because Sword doesn't have a C in it, so
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think it's interesting that she commented like, and then I tried to figure out what they were building in that hangar.
Yeah.
Thing, but I have no idea what it is.
Right. And it seems like, so they do a lot of stuff in space still, but they also do terrestrial stuff, which is what she was kind of grounded to, checking out what's going on in Westview.
I mean, like, I'm pretty sure it's like her division is like the space part of it, or what she's used to.
Right.
But, sentient, what's it called? Weapon is also, with the list that he said, it's like AI, nanotech, and something else he said. Robotics.
Yeah. What did you think of that acting director, Hayward? Are you getting good vibes off of him, or?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't like anything I have distrust about any kind of director is just tropes throughout all TV and movies. Like the directors, there's always some kind of like duology to them.
That's
so
gotta be the reason why I feel like a distrust for him.
Yeah, so I don't know enough about him. I looked him up also. There's nothing. But nothing he's done, or even the way he acts, points to that there's some kind of duology to him. It's just my bias towards anyone called director.
Right. Yeah, there's just I don't know. There's something that I get, and I don't know what it is yet. So we'll see.
I mean, if you think about S.H.I.E.L.D. in the same kind of way, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury, was very, very, close to the vest and only told you certain things and manipulated people.
Right.
So, it could be around a little bit of the same.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It could be. So we will see. We'll see. He's definitely somebody to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Okay, so Monica gets to Westview, and everybody's like, I don't know what Westview is. And it seems like the sphere around Westview is impacting the memories of people both inside the sphere and outside the sphere, because these, they talked about this witness, who's in witness protection. His family doesn't even remember who he is.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out who that person is, if that person actually has a stake in this actual story, and not just that was the thing that brought them to this.
I feel like they've got to have some kind of, for them to bring it up as a, well, I guess in order to bring in the FBI, they would need to have some reason why to have Jimmy Woo there. So maybe that's the reason. But I just feel like there's more to this story than we know.
I mean, could also be that Wanda went into witness protection, and that's where she ended up, like that movie My Blue Heaven, where Steve Martin was put in this San Diego suburb, but that's where the FBI put a whole bunch of people in the witness protection program, and maybe she just happened to be, that's where she was too at that same time.
Maybe, but they refer to him as a him.
Right. I'm saying Wanda is in the same place because she's also in.
Oh, I see. So yeah, okay. So she's a different witness.
Yeah, like this is the dumping ground for witness protection people.
Right.
Like I said, like in that movie My Blue Heaven, Steve Martin is a mob informant, and so they put him in the San Diego suburb. But then he realizes that a whole bunch of people in that same suburb are also in the witness protection program. So it's like they just put people there because why not? It's in the middle of nowhere and whatever.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happened to Wanda in between Tony Stark's funeral and the start of this all.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
I mean, like, we kind of have a little bit of knowledge of her character from the comic. So we know that she's been like, well, I mean, like in the cinematic universe, she's gone through a lot of trauma, but like even it's the same thing in the comic book. She has a lot of trauma that triggers a lot of things in her.
Right. Yeah. It's just so like mind blowing.
My question is, did those two policemen, where they're like, and Jimmy Woo was like, can you tell her what you told me? And they're like, this Westview does not exist. But they don't seem to be really concerned about the fact that they're standing next to a sign that says Westview.
It says Westview, yeah, exactly. Because she looks at the sign and she's like, "You've never heard of Westview?" And she like looks at it.
I'm like, do they see that sign?
Yeah, and why is it that she's able to see it and Jimmy Woo is able to see it?
I mean, it could be like she answered it because she goes, is it maybe because it's a radius thing, or that we have no personal connection to this? Because like the people who forget that the witness exists is the people who knew that person.
Right.
So maybe that's going on. And then he said he went through the phone book about all the people and there's nothing on them. So it's like, any existence outside of that bubble and any kind of knowledge that anyone might have doesn't exist. Something. Who knows?
Right.
It's part of the mystery.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah.
Well, it was fun seeing Jimmy Woo and Darcy Lewis. Darcy Lewis is now a doctor. Yes, an astrophysicist. And,
I was about to say, like, she was still just an assistant in Thor.
Yeah, she was still I think an intern
or something, right? So
yeah,
I know I don't think she was I was gonna say, like, she wasn't a doctor back then. So
no,
good on her for finishing her studies during all that craziness
Blip.
of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right.
So.
And I enjoyed the fact that they brought humor to the episode because it was a really intense episode.
Yeah.
And they brought the trademark light moments in the darkness for that Marvel tends to do.
Yeah, I really, I mean, I liked Darcy's character, but I also liked Agent Wu's character, like Randall Park's character.
Yeah, and I like how he still has that kind of awkwardness that he had in Ant-Man.
Yeah,
he's like, they're talking about the twins, and he goes, "Do you want any?" And he's like, "Well, I'd like to see a little Jimmy Woo and whatever." And he's like, "Oh, you mean a chip?"
Yeah. I also like when the director was like, "They must miss you at Quantico," and he's like, "No, right? Softball season's over."
Yeah, it's just so funny.
But he's like so dry when he like gives that like no, softball season, like matter of factly.
Yeah, and both of them are not strangers to sitcoms because he's from Fresh Off the Boat. He's done Two Broke Girls and Dollface. So
I mean, she was in 40-Year-Old Virgin. That's the first time I remember seeing her. But yeah, I like both of those two. I like both of them as actors as well. So I'm glad they're. It's just one of those kind of cool things about this universe is that like the secondary or tertiary character from Thor and this character from the Ant-Man series are now in this TV series where there's like absolutely no connection between them before now. I think it's one of those cool things. And they are like the writers definitely capture both their characters really well.
Yeah, they did. They definitely got them down from the movies that we know them from. Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about some of these things that have impacted the actual other reality that Wanda. We saw that Monica Rambeau brought out that drone, and it turned out to be the helicopter that that Wanda saw. The call from beyond, we saw Jimmy Woo actually doing that call. And then the beekeeper was an actual agent in a hazmat suit that went into the sewers. And when he crossed over, it turned into a bee suit.
Yeah.
Or a beekeeper suit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love those moments.
Yeah, and don't forget that the tether turned into a jump rope.
Oh, right.
Right. Like whatever comes through has to fit the world.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Again, like they even commented on it, why did they do that? And I think Jimmy Woo is the one who said like to match the world, and then Darcy was like, or to render it useless, which could be the combo of both. So yeah, it's really interesting. Like, so that was, I mean, that kind of explains also why Monica when she crossed in doesn't look like her looks changed and whatnot, and it might also have affected her memory. Like that's still not clear whether or not she went in knowing exactly who she was and whatever.
See, I think that she didn't. I think that whatever sends you through there rewrites your memories. And I think in the last episode, there was a moment where Wanda let her guard down, and that's when she started remembering. And I think because I think it was interesting because I watched all of the episodes again before watching watching episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
And when Wanda meets Geraldine, the first thing that Geraldine says is, "I don't know what I'm doing here."
Right.
And then of course when she asks her name, he says, "I'm Geraldine." There was like a pause.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like whatever it is that's in that sphere of influence is playing with people's memories.
So now I wonder, like, so the scene with Herb and Agnes took place around that same time.
Mm-hmm.
And is that why they're having that conversation?
Yeah.
Because if Wanda's guard is down, that means they also are all starting to remember things.
Right.
And that's where the fear, like Agnes looks like she's totally afraid to let Vision know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, maybe that is. That is interesting too.
That might play a part later in the story, and that's how things might get resolved, so to speak.
Right. Okay, so Jimmy Woo, does that. What do you call those boards where they put up all the witnesses and things like that?
Oh, I don't know. Just
you know what I'm talking about? Yeah,
yeah.
The board. Yeah, and I noticed that there were two names that they didn't name with real names, and that's Agnes and Dottie. And Agnes, obviously, we have always sensed there might be something with her, that she could potentially be Agatha Harkness.
Yeah.
But a lot of people have speculated Dottie to be Arcana from the Squadron Supreme. So that would be very interesting. I don't think she is, but I don't know. I did think that it was interesting that they didn't name her name.
Yeah.
Is it intentional, or did they just not put her in there?
It might be, or it might be like, again, like, they're still going through, their recognition and trying to find who these people are. So I don't know if they made any kind of connection that they haven't been able to find those two yet, or who knows. I mean, like, obviously for our sake, audience sake, it's intentional.
Right.
I would say even if they did, they probably would have made it blurred out or kind of like out of focus, so you couldn't really see who it was.
Yeah.
But it does point to the fact that Agnes has a different kind of role in this whole thing, and maybe so does Dottie.
Yeah.
Be interesting because Dottie, so Emma Caulfield is going to be on Kevin Smith's podcast tomorrow.
Oh, really? Ooh,
yeah, so she's going to be on the Fat Man Beyond podcast with Kevin Smith. She's the guest on that one. So
wow, maybe I'll tune into that.
Yeah, like that part, like I rewatched it. I paused everything. I wrote down every single name. I looked at what notes were on that we can see on the paper. And it's really just, it's like their character name, their real name, the first time we saw them, what they were doing. So it wasn't like anything that was written on those sheets wasn't anything that we don't know.
Right.
We just see kind of like it's out of focus enough where you can't really tell details, but then we see their New Jersey ID. So although everyone they have identified probably is the people that lived in Westview.
Yeah, that's
right. I did find so Todd and Sharon Davis, who played Mr. and Mrs. Hart. They both worked on previous, like Todd Davis and a Sharon Davis both worked in Marvel movies before. I think Todd Davis was like an extra in Iron Man 3, and I can't remember what Sharon Davis was, but there doesn't seem to be any real connection.
Right.
Thing. Norm, Abelash Tandon, there's nothing about that name.
Yeah.
Jones is played by a guy called Harold Copter, which I just thought funny because to me it sounds like helicopter. So
Yeah.
I'm like, but there is no Harold Copter or anything. Beverly is Isabel Matsuida, which also has nothing. Herb, played by John Collins. There is a John Collins who is an art director on WandaVision. So I think it might be partly just people that worked in Marvel, probably just like, I need a name.
Right.
This guy sounds good.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah, because some of them sound very specific. Like, they it had to have come from somewhere.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. So, excuse me. So Darcy and Jimmy are like, reviewing the sitcoms and going through the whole thing, and they get to a point where they see that Wanda is confronting Monica, and that Monica had mentioned Ultron. And they're like, what? Did he just say Ultron? And then at the very end of that episode, it kind of glitches and then it just ends. And that's when we see what actually happened. And Wanda, saying, you're not my neighbor and, you're not my friend, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I want you out of here. And she zaps her out, sends her through like 2 walls.
She does
2
the
fences.
She does like the classic MCU Wanda move.
Yeah.
Like the first time in the series that we saw her powers the way we've always seen her powers.
Right.
Even with the whole kind of hand movement that she does normally.
Yeah.
Like that came back because she never did that before this episode. So that was pretty interesting. But this isn't the first glitch that we see.
Yeah.
I mean, that they notice. Darcy notices a glitch earlier, but she didn't really know what it was. Like it was so subtle that she's kind of like, that's weird. This one was more obvious, obviously.
Yeah.
But the first glitch was when Jimmy was contacting them through the radio.
Right.
And the whole scene that Dottie broke her hand on the glass and blood. That whole scene gets skipped. Like there's a noticeable jump in that scene where Dottie's about to say, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
And then she kind of just looks, and then she goes into the, how do you get blood out of white linen? And then Darcy was kind of like noticed it, but didn't really get it because it was so subtle.
Right. Yeah, she noticed the glitch, but who knew what was going to be in there? Or could it be, it's in a whole program, could certainly glitch on whatever they're watching. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, and she does comment that's when she comments that she thinks that someone's censoring the show, which is, again, another question, because it does seem like it's probably not Wanda. And it only seems to happen when it's parts where reality seems to be creeping in, or like like the characters are kind of like, something's off, and then but why is it being censored? Is it censored for like whose purpose? Like why censor it? Like Wanda obviously goes through it. So it's not censoring her because she knows it happens.
Right.
So does someone know that people can see what's going on in this world? So
who knows?
Wow.
The writers.
Yeah.
So anyway, Monica, gets back into the actual reality, and we hear her say it's Wanda, it's all Wanda. And then back in Pleasantville, we have, Vision says we could go somewhere else, and Wanda says, no, this is our home now. And that she'll do, or I can't remember the exact words, but basically like that she'll protect them or whatever.
She says, I have everything under control.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was really interesting.
There's a turn where it really makes it seem like she's really the antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
And then the music around it, the cinematography around it, just it's kind of telling the audience like, it's all Wanda, right? And it's exactly what Monica Rambeau says. It's all Wanda, and it really makes it out to seem like this is the reveal that Wanda is maybe the bad guy in this.
Could be. I mean, there's part of me that's like, I don't know. It seems too easy, especially on episode 4, that they'd reveal that Wanda was the bad guy.
I mean, in a narrative, if this is a story, by this point we would have to know who the antagonist is, and then everything now is because from this point on, now it's like, now what? Now that we know, what do we do about this?
Right. Although we still haven't seen the major character in the Marvel Universe yet.
True. Like, I feel like I don't think she's the main antagonist, but I do think this points to the fact that Wanda is unstable and that she is a threat.
Right.
And it is kind of the same feeling that they've had about her in the other movies. That's why they kept her at headquarters, because she is a threat.
Right. And they talked about how people will always fear her. That's what Vision said to her. God, it was just, I really had a lot of goosebumps in this episode.
I mean, we don't want to also gloss over the fact that we did see Vision.
Oh, right.
Dead.
Yeah.
But talking, but like that he's grayed out. He's got the hole in his head. And like for a moment, she saw it and was like, and then she got her composure back.
Yeah.
And that's when she said, we can't leave. I have everything under control.
Right.
So it feels like it really is her controlling everything, but
what's going on.
But she's not really in control of herself.
Right.
Like when she's in control, like when she's fine, she's in control, but when anything like jars her or distracts her or something, that's when she loses control. I think that might be something that like Agnes and them know. Like they might, like when she drops her total control, it's like they remember something like, oh my god, this woman like is keeping us here or doing this thing. But as long as, and they might realize that if she loses control, they're screwed or something. Like maybe she did something to somebody and that's why they're scared. So they have to, when they start remembering things, they know subconsciously or consciously that they have to play along.
Yeah.
Otherwise, something bad can happen.
Well, yeah, because I think that it's interesting that she does seem confused, like that whole first episode where they're trying to figure out how, what their story and things like that. That she doesn't look like she knows, but I think it could be something that is protecting her, like her way of protecting herself from, dealing with reality.
Right.
What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if it's protection. I think it's more manipulation. Like, I don't think there's any kind of like positive things about this. Like, protection kind of has a positive connotation. I don't think it's protection.
Why do you think that she's confused?
I think it's because she's creating this world, but like, if anything, like, you don't know off the bat, you don't know the details. You don't know everything. Like, things like it's kind of like everything's created by necessity. It's like, oh, we need grass. Oh, that's right. I also need this. And then, oh, that's right. We need some kind of, like, every time she's confused, it's someone asking her a question.
Right.
Oh, how long have you been married? Oh, this. It's like she's thinking up the answer. So that's how it's not. I think that's why it's not confusion. It's her creating the world.
Right.
Out of necessity, out of the things that people ask. And then, I think when the Hearts were asking like Spitfire questions, like one after the other, that's when she kind of lost it, because then there was too many things coming at her.
That's interesting.
It's not like writing a story. Like, you come to a point where you're like, all right, well, I wrote myself into the corner. What do I do?
Right.
And you're like, oh, I'll just do this. And then that's kind of that. I don't think she, in a snap, created a world with everything in place.
Yeah.
She did it as best as she knows how, but then there's like the little details that are always a thing. As Agnes said, the devil's in the details.
Well, it would be interesting to also find out how long had she created, like, ago did they create the spell from when Monica and Jimmy Woo show up? Because obviously they watched the first episode, and Geraldine is in the first episode, even though we don't see her. And so I think that it must have just happened.
We don't know. That's the thing. Like, the first time that anyone in the real world sees it is in the middle of that first episode that we watched.
Right.
But, from the conversations that she's having, like Darcy's having, there's multiple episodes. We just don't watch them all. So it's not just it went from the episode 1 that we saw to episode 2 that we saw. There's other episodes, because she kind of hints that they've been watching for a while.
Right.
So it could have gone on before that, until we don't know. The thing is, we don't know how long it's been going on.
Right. That's
I don't think when we first see the first episode, that's the first instance of it. So again, who knows?
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, like, so it looks like Sword is in Florida to me.
Okay.
Monica drives from Florida to New Jersey, if it's in Florida, because it looks like the Keys to me for some whatever reason. It feels like that.
Right.
That's at best, unless if she drives straight, at least 24 hours. Maybe 2 days.
Right.
So it could have been happening at least 2-3 days before she got there. And who knows how long before that, because it's not like, I don't know if the director just got it right when he appears, like, I have this thing, you got to go, or if it's something that was on his plate, that, because it didn't sound like urgent. I mean, that's why I think he sent Monica there, not like, we must get this.
Like it would be a fairly routine, harmless thing.
Yeah,
that you could like bite her teeth into.
Because it's really an FBI guy going like, "Hey, can we borrow one of your drones?" That's what it sounds
right. Yeah,
and, that's exactly she just came back from this incident, the blip. So he's not going to give her like a super complex, whatever, so this could have been going like anywhere from 3 weeks to a couple days before we get to this point. So who knows what's been going on.
I know, it's crazy. The like just going back to this, I mean, what do we think happened in those 3 weeks to Wanda?
That's the thing, like, the last time we saw her, she was just talking to Hawkeye,
yeah. And she seemed to be at peace, so it was very interesting because he said, I hope that Nat knows that we won, and she says she does, and something like they both do.
They do. Or something like that.
They do. Yeah, something like that. And she seemed at peace. So there's got to be something traumatic that happened, or maybe she just,
I mean, it doesn't have to be like something traumatic happened. Just because she seems that way, she can be acting that way.
Yeah.
Trauma doesn't necessarily need a trigger. It can just be pent up.
Right.
Everything that's ever since like her brother, well, even before that, her parents, the whole ordeal with Strucker, losing Pietro, the incident that started Civil War in the Wakandan embassy.
Yeah, it's true. There was a lot of stuff that she went through.
Yeah, so like her being that calm at the end of Endgame, I think she's trying to bury it, and I think, not the most healthiest thing to do. So, and again, like she's in this New Jersey town for whatever reason, like, it might be that she said like, I need to go somewhere where no one knows me or something, who knows, and then the FBI or someone goes, go here. Who knows, like, why is she in a town in New Jersey? Like, what's up with that? And like, she could be the Wicked Witch of the West.
The Wicked Witch of Westview.
Yeah.
Of the West. I do feel like there's got to be some kind of correlation to that. Them using Westview. I mean, they could use so many other names. Yeah, Eastview.
And she is a Scarlet Witch. Agnes or Agatha Harkness is a witch.
Right.
I'm willing to bet Dottie is also some kind of mystical something.
Yeah.
Right. Again, like, and on the board, they go, what's with the hex shapes? It could be tied to AIM. Or it could be like as simple as, hexes are synonymous with witch power. Like, they're called hexes and whatever. So there's still a lot of things that point to they're either really clever Easter eggs, just a nod to her world in the comics, or they are pointing to something on the horizon, like the whole thing with Mephisto, who is Ralph, everything that points to the devil,
or Senor Scratchy.
Seeing very briefly the Grim Reaper's helmet. So it's either these are just nods to things in the comics, or it's coming to play. But I have the feeling it's coming into play. So I think for this to build up into Multiverse of Madness, it's got to be a lot of mystical ties and connections.
Right. Yeah. Let's go back to who do we think Agnes is? Because I think that she might be, if she isn't Agatha Harkness, that she might be something that Wanda built to kind of keep her in the illusion. You know what I mean? Because she comes in and, in the first episode, and she's like, "Oh, like, let me help you with your romantic evening and stuff like that," and tries to um, keep things perpetuating the illusion. Like she also shut down Herb, um, and I thought that was interesting.
It's possible,
Yeah.
but I don't think so. I think she is a character. I think she is, because it also could be that's where she was, and Wanda sought her out.
It could be, yeah. Maybe that's why.
Right, because like from what we've seen in some of the other trailers, like she is more aware of things.
Yeah.
I think if she is also a witch of some sort, that like there's some things where she's not totally under the spell, but also, I mean, like I do still feel that she is somewhat under the spell, because I think again that conversation with Herb takes place during a moment of distraction for Wanda, and I don't think she's shutting Herb down because she's trying to keep the illusion. Like that's her job. It feels like more like she knows the consequences of what would happen, because she doesn't look like she's like, hey, you stop it. It's more because she starts to also do the same thing by like asking Vision all these questions,
right?
And it seems more like she knows what could happen and she wants to prevent that from happening.
Yeah.
So maybe again, like she's a little bit more aware than the others, and that's why she pops in when she pops in,
right,
to put things back on track, because she knows she needs to, like, Wanda needs to keep her head in the game, basically.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That could definitely be it. And why do we think that Agnes and Herb were talking about Monica now that we know this whole backstory? Like, it did seem, interesting that Agnes was in on it, like you said, and that she could have been, trying to keep things from unraveling by stopping Herb. But I wonder what Herb was going to say. Like, she's here because we're something.
I want to say, like, I keep going to the fact that they're trapped and they know that she's not from there.
Right.
Right. I think they're all residents. I think that maybe, could be another reason why we don't see who Agnes and Dottie are, is that they are also part of this whole thing. Like I said, like it's a dumping ground for witness protection, and so there is no real records of them, because they need to be protected. Maybe Ralph is the witness. That's why we never see him either. So I don't think it's. I think they gain back a little bit of consciousness, and they know that Geraldine is not from the town.
Yeah,
she wasn't there before, and so that's why she's like, they're kind of like trying to figure out if maybe she's there. Maybe Herb is hoping that she's there to help them. But Agnes is more like she could unravel everything, and that could be bad. Right. Like Agnes's point of view is she can ruin it. Like she can, if she brings Wanda out of it, it could be a colossal disaster. Where Herb is just like, I'm trapped here. Please get me out. I want to go back to my normal life.
Right.
Like, that's why I think Agnes is something like she understands a little bit of what is going on.
That is really interesting.
And Herb's just kind of like one of the normal townsfolk that are just like, what is what? I just want someone to help me.
Yeah.
So
I'm really. It just seems like there's just so much. It's like this answered so much, but then it left a lot of questions unanswered, and I mean that's the joy of the whole series.
Yeah, I mean it's never before do I think I've ever watched a show, immediately went back, watched it, and then did like an investigative note-taking session. Like, and this was like 1:00 in the morning. I'm just like, I got to find out who these people are.
Right.
Who like I'm Googling Abalash Tandon. Going, oh, that's nobody. Harold Copter. Nope, that's nobody. I even because we finally also see a second set of fake credits at the end of this. Because when they go into the glitch again, when Darcy says, because then we see the credits for the second episode, which we didn't see the first time.
Yeah.
So like I looked up, the producer for that one was Leon Patrick, who's a post-production coordinator on WandaVision.
Yeah. I bet you that they got a lot of names.
Yeah. Because like the director of that episode was Chikako Suzuki, which is not a name you can pull out of nowhere.
Yeah. Exactly.
That is actually the name of a set designer on Agent Carter.
Ah.
And then the writer was Amanda Weir, who I couldn't find anything tied to anything there. And then I could not see.
It could be like a PA or something.
Right. I couldn't see who the director of photography was. Like they started to show part of the top of a name, but I couldn't get it. So I don't know.
Right.
But I mean, again, it seems like it could just be coincidence names or whatever.
Yeah, everything could be a clue. You never know.
Yeah.
Do you have any other observations you want to share?
Yeah, there's so at the end, there's a couple things. So like the face that Vision has after Wanda's like, no, we can't, I have everything under control. He has this weird concerned face, but he smiles, but his smile seems very like, I better put on a smile.
Right.
Like whatever he is, there still seems to be some kind of awareness of who or something. Like, I don't know if he knows like what happened to Vision, but he does seem to have some kind of cognizant capability.
I think it all boils down to when the first episode, he says that I'm, I don't forget, and I'm, I can't exaggerate or whatever, and I think that she's having a hard time keeping him in line, because he keeps going, making these statements and things like that. That are freaking her out, and I think that it might boil down to he's still kind of like, something's amiss here.
And like, who knows how she created his version of the Mind Stone? Like her powers come from it,
right?
So it's like, is because she tried to recreate him as best as possible, there's a little bit of feedback from the Mind Stone powers where it gives him a little bit of like actual Vision's kind of mentality and like whatever, like, I mean, who knows? Like, but I feel like this is gonna be a really tragic story in the end.
I know. I have a sad feeling.
Yeah, like I have a feeling that if she created Vision too well, Vision's someone who, I mean, this is what we know of him from the movies. Like, he sided with Tony Stark because in his mind it seems logical.
Right.
This has happened, and he'll fight his friends to do it. Like, at the end, like, he's totally like, go, like, destroy me. That's the only way. You have to destroy me.
Yeah.
Like, it's a logical thing to do. And I think when push comes to shove, he might choose the logical thing. And it might be somehow he's the one who's the key to defeating.
That's exactly what I'm thinking as well. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think this ends well.
No.
And,
no.
Yeah. So
and I want it to so badly.
Well, yeah, because it's a sitcom. I think that's why it's an interesting juxtaposition against sitcoms, because sitcoms are wrapped up nicely after every episode. Are happy, unless you're Elf, because that was a weird ending.
Yeah.
but yeah, I just think it's for telling
and it made us fall in love with them as a couple again, because they're so adorable.
Yeah,
as a couple.
I think the cool thing about this episode is it was almost like Darcy and Wu are the audience. They had the same exact questions and the same kind of things. They're like, oh, I'm invested in this story.
Right. Exactly.
And so we are invested in this version of them, the sitcom version of them. We're like, oh, we want that for Wanda because she's been through so much, but at the cost of seemingly holding this whole town hostage. Jimmy said it. It's like, it's not a missing persons case, it's a missing town case.
Right.
And they are Avengers. And Avengers are here to protect the people. So I think that's why it's going to be a very, very interesting ending to this story, this series. But I don't think I mean, obviously it doesn't get resolved totally, because we know that she's in Doctor Strange. So who knows?
God, I just want to see it all.
I know. The other interesting thing is a choice of Voodoo Child by Jimi Hendrix at the end.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that show. I mean, that song.
It's weird because I'm trying to figure out why that was chosen. It's not
because
a 70s song. It's a 60s song. But the lyrics are very interesting. And the passage, I think the song, part of the lyrics that they chose to include in the show, which is, I wrote it down. If I don't meet you no more in this world, then I'll meet you on the next one, and don't be late. Because I'm a voodoo child. Lord knows I'm a voodoo child. And then the last line is, I don't take no for an answer.
Wow.
So I'm like,
there had to have been a reason why.
I mean, it plays when Wanda pretty much says, I have everything under control, and it goes into that song.
Right.
So I think it's kind of disappointing that she created this world. But it's not totally, and she's not totally it's almost like she'll do anything to protect this world, this reality. No, we can't leave. This is our home now. I got everything under control, because she wants this thing. And I'm still also I have a strong feeling we'll see her brother somewhere.
I know. I hope so. I really do.
Right. So
he could be the major character in the Marvel universe. So who knows?
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite part of the episode?
Yes, I did. Yeah. My favorite scene was when Monica and James Wu meet, and he does a magic trick with his card, and she kind of looks at it but doesn't acknowledge it whatsoever.
Right. It's so funny. That's what makes these characters great.
She looks at it like, that's cute. But not in oh, that's cute. That's cute. That's weird and cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite part. What's yours?
Mine was a little more intense. Mine was the opening. I just thought I had such a strong reaction to it, and because I just realized, I'm like, we have not seen this before, because we saw people returning majestically. We saw a little bit of humor in the return, but never anything like this where there's just this chaos all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that it was really well done, that scene.
Yeah, you can feel, it makes you really feel what that would have been like.
Yeah, and Christoph Beck's music in the background. Yeah, it's just like everything about that scene was really good.
Episode really felt like a Marvel movie. Everything, it was so different about it.
Yeah.
In a way that it now solidifies this show as a Marvel Cinematic Universe show. And I think we can also kind of glance over the fact that Maria Rambeau died of cancer.
Right. I know there's so much. Right. There's so much stuff to unpack
and the story, how did she get involved with sword?
Yeah, not only that, but she founded it.
She founded it.
Yeah.
That's an interesting kind of story. And does Captain Marvel know what happened? I don't think she does.
No. Well, she must now.
Well, who knows? Because how long did she stick around?
Right.
True. Her thing is,
outer space.
When they asked her how come you weren't here, and she's like, this is happening everywhere. Yeah. So you guys have this, I have the rest of the universe.
Right.
To try to figure out. There's a lot in this episode.
So much to unpack. Anything else you want to bring up?
No, it'll be interesting to see, going back into the sitcom world, because we know they do.
Yeah, 80s should be next week.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how all of this keeps playing, and whatever other things. Now that Monica's back out, what are they going to try to do?
Right.
I don't think not to say that the sitcoms always went smoothly, but I feel like it's going to be even more crazy going forward. So
I definitely think so as well. So, especially with all Vision kind of, having these realizations and things like that, or that moment where he is talking to Agnes and she's in the car and she asks if she's dead. Yeah. And that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. I wonder when the sitcoms end. Do they end at the 90s?
I don't know if it's the 90s or early 2000s.
So, I feel like, what's the reasoning behind sitcoms? And it's because, sorry.
That's okay.
That's what she watched, and that's what she knows of American culture and all these kind of things. But how long did she watch sitcoms for?
Right.
At some point, I don't know. I couldn't tell you how to define sitcoms in the 2000s or 2010s. Not really.
It's like modern family-esque kind of.
Right, and I think at that point it almost loses its sitcom charm. But who knows? Because then there has to be the climax. And I don't think I think it's gonna be a fight in between both worlds of some sort.
Yeah.
And maybe not a physical fight, but some kind of conflict between that involves both worlds.
Yeah.
So, and I would love to see James Woo and Darcy in sitcom world.
I know. Yeah. Especially, that would be so fun.
Because they both come from sitcoms.
Right.
Well, I mean, other things, but they're both in sitcoms, so it'd be kind of cool to see them in another sitcom. In a fake sitcom world.
Right. Basically. Exactly.
So
anyway, all right, well, I guess we will convene next week to find out what happens in episode 5. But for now, we've come to the end of this episode. Be sure to like this post and comment below what like any observations that you had about episode 4 that you want to share with us.
Yep.
Yeah. And share our posts with your family and friends. We'd love to get them out there. You can reach us at podcast at castlescapesandclones.com. Leave your feedback, both good and bad. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell for notifications. Again, do like this post. You can always reach me personally on Twitter at LowJav or on Instagram at Loren Javier. How about you, Rich?
You can reach me on Twitter and Instagram at R2Romasanta.
All right. Well, the opinions expressed today on today's podcast are solely our own and do not represent the Walt Disney Company, its subsidiaries, or assets. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you later.
Yep.
Bye.
Catch you on the flip side.
As Herb says.
As Herb says. Catch you on the flip side.